Alrighty, you kind folks. This would be me, and in case you didn't know, this would be one more. I would just call it a delivery. My COVID series. I just call it COVID series because I have nothing else to call it. Anyway, so I'll call this a shocking story, not because it's shocking somebody ran naked with underwear over their heads or something. No, it's just shocking because we're talking about electrically shocking. And you'll see behind me there's some like wires, some overhead cables or main wires, AC wires. Um, so this was around 1970, the 70 time frame. Of course, I was still young. I was probably 12 years old. So my brother must have been 7 years old. My sister must have been 14 or 15, something like that. And my parents, in particular my dad, they always taught us safety first, right? Okay, so because there was always where we grew up, there was like a creature farm kind of thing. There was always wires and cables and pieces of metal sticking out and that kind of stuff. But so let me tell you about. I don't want to bore you with electrical stuff, but let me tell you about AC. Now, AC is the power that's in your home. In the United States, it's 110 volts at 60 hertz. And in South Africa, it's 220 volts at 50 hertz. Now, I don't know if there's no way of actually comparing the two if you're being shocked, but let me tell you, if you're being shocked in South Africa by 220 volts AC, it is traumatic. You don't see no light flashing in front of you. You see death flashing in front of you. But anyway, so at one time, my younger brother, 7 years old, he wanted to inflate his bicycle tires. So my dad had a workshop there, and with all kinds of compressors and welders and welding machines and lathes and drilling machines and drills and all kinds of stuff. Tools, we're allowed to use it if we put it back, otherwise you'll be in trouble. But anyway, so he went to wanted to inflate these bicycle wheels, and so the compressor in South Africa, the plugs are a huge three pronged plug, not like here, it's like massive. But the top of the plug was broken. So my dad, instead of fixing it, explained to us. Now remember, those three things sticking out, if you touch it, it will shock you and you'll die. So don't touch it. So if you want to use it, make sure you don't touch it and you touch the body, the plastic around it, plug it in, and when you're done, make sure you put your fingers around it. Don't touch it, but to grab on the plastic and then pull it out. Well, that's good advice if you're a grown-up and your hands are real long and that kind of stuff. But I guess my poor brother, at some point, his little hand was reaching too far or something, and he missed these ones, but his fingers actually grabbed around the plug and touched the ones that go into the wall. Anyway, so I was walking outside, and all of a sudden I hear this life and death scream, coming from the workshop. And so I ran in there, and there I saw him like a fly sticking to fly paper, like, and I realized, oh man, but the compressor was running, so, and he was cleaning up, and so I realized, okay, so there's no 2x4, because you can't touch him with a metal pole, you can't touch him, you'll get shocked yourself. So either you have to like dive bomb him from 10 feet away. Anyway, but I knew exactly where the trip switches were, so I just ran to the trip switches and flipped the switch off. And little bro survived. Of course, we couldn't tell our parents about it because we'll get in trouble because you didn't touch the plug the way you were instructed to. So anyway, that's just one story. So now, another Sunday afternoon, my dad was always going to auctions, and he bought, man, if it was cheap, he would buy it. He bought all kinds of stuff, and there's one auction he bought an electric. Now, hang on, let me just this is not my brother. This is just a little picture, and it's not funny. But as you can see, he was being shocked. So So my dad bought this electric lawnmower, and it was a big thing. It was self-driven, self-propelled. They had a big motor, electric motor, so it was supposed to be quiet, I guess. Big drum, all like real sharp blades and stuff. Anyway, so the one Sunday afternoon, they were taking a nap, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to see if this thing works, because if it does, it's going to make my life easier. I mean, we had a massive piece of lawn I had to mow in those days. You know, young kids worked. That's what they did. And I liked it. I didn't mind it, really. And so I went to one of the storage areas, and I got this thing out, hauled it all the way up, put it next to the lawn. Okay, on the concrete. Now I'm going to plug it in. No, nothing happens. Okay, great. I'm going to walk over to it, pick it up, and just switch it on. There's a switch on it or something. Okay, so I'll waltz over there, and I bend down to pick it up, and as I touch the handles, immediately, full on 220 volts, and my eyes just went, that was it. No, there's no light flashing. It's just, you see death coming your way. You can almost see it coming. And I know I'm going to cut the story short, not the whole story, but this part, because I know you're going to say this is not possible. But I know my dad taught us that the current is being conducted from you to the ground. So the only way to not be shocked is to not have it touch ground. And in my mind, I realized the only way to survive this is if I could jump up just for a second or two, and that will break the current flow because I won't be touching ground, and then I can let go. And I did exactly that. I jumped up, and I could let go. And that was it. I unplugged it, I rolled the wire back up, and the cable, and I put it back there. Now, just one other thought. What kind of an asshole would, at the auction, before the auction, realize that this lawnmower is broken or defective, and just neatly put it in the auction and sell it, and to an unsuspecting person like my dad, and not say a word about it? But anyway, that's besides the point. So, it was divine intervention that I lived. It wasn't my fanciness, believe me. So here comes the main thing. Enters the vervet monkey. Now, you're going to say, well, what has the... Okay, well, hang on. I was I was shocked too. So let me show something of me being shocked there. So enters the vervet monkey. What has a monkey got to do with it? Very important. We had a monkey, and, well, let me show you what he looks like. Make it interesting. There's a vervet monkey. He's a real funny monkey. A little nice little animal. I mean, he was a little cuddly and everything. But man, was he mischievous. He was just into everything. He would not leave anything. He will pull and grab and push and steal and just bite and chew. And anyway, so what happened is, at some point he went to our neighbor's house, I guess, like half a mile away or something. And he apparently got onto the fridge, and he pushed or whatever, shoved a milk jar or some glass jar off the fridge, and it obviously broke. And I think my dad, our neighbor, tried to shoot him or something. So my dad said, okay, you know what, this monkey is just getting out of hand. That's it, enough. So he built a beautiful cage for the monkey in an area where there was a nice tree, and there was some nice, like rocks and flowers and everything around it, like real natural. And he built this chicken wire fence, a cage around this area, and that was for the monkey. So the monkey was happy. He was in there. Right? He couldn't run around and do his bad stuff. But we had what I call a borehole, or here I think they'll call it a well, where we got water from, right? It was all out in the farm. There's no utilities, right? So that's how you get your water. Anyway, and there was an electric pump that went down, and we turn and get the water. And so my dad ran a cable, actually just 3 wires, 2 insulated live wires and 1 ground wire, and it ran this 220-volt line to the motor. And so it would just plug it in their bedroom. You just plug it in, switch it on, and it will start to pump and fill up the tank. So everything's fine. Well, what nobody realized at the time is that these wires was running right beside, next to the monkey's cage. Well, monkey is monkey, and if it's within reach, he got to it, and he chewed through one of the wires insulation. So one Sunday afternoon, once again, my parents were sleeping. We were supposed to be quiet. I'm outside. My sister's outside. I guess my younger 7-year-old brother was there too. And we were either playing or talking or feeding the monkey. I'm guessing that's what we did. But at some point, one of us felt a shock in one of these wires, right? The ground wire, which is not supposed to, it's grounded, it's not supposed to shock you. And I looked and I realized that the monkey has chewed through the insulation of one of the live wires. And now the live wire running side by side was touching this ground. So if you touch the ground, you get shocked. So I don't know if I was concerned for the monkey or concerned for us or just, I don't know what the concern was. But anyway, I wanted to move the wires either away from the cage or something. And so I went and grabbed a cloth, right? Not realizing at the time that the cloth was slightly damp. Well, anybody who knows, or if you don't know, if it's damp, it starts to conduct, the water, the dampness conducts electricity. So instead of, I was using the cloth to put around the wires and lift it up and then move it, but because it's damp, current started to flow and it started to shock me just a little bit. I thought, ooh, you know, but I kept on moving. The problem is as you move it, as it shocks you, your muscles slowly contract a little bit. And before you can, I mean, there's no thinking. I'm talking like this. The next thing you know, as your muscles contract, you clamp down harder on that damp cloth, which makes it conduct more current, and it clamps more and more current, and you clamp. So eventually, you just like, whoosh. The next thing, I'm in full-on shock mode. Woo, 220. As I said, that's it. No life flashing before you. Nothing. Death is flashing in front of you. And so I started screaming. I didn't make any sense. I mean, I just like, ah! And my sister, of course, you know, bro is dying. She starts screaming too, ah! And of course, I guess my other brother too. The next thing, my dad, of course, them waking up from their Sunday afternoon little nap with all this commotion, he probably looked through the window and realized here's his oldest son standing with electric wires in his hands doing a Joe Cocker. Ah! Realize, you know, no offense to Joe Cocker, but I'm just saying. So he realized exactly there was a problem, of course. So he went and he either switched it off or unplugged it or whatever. Let me show. See this little guy there moving and the cable? Well, that's me, except it's not fun. So anyway, the good news, he switched it off or unplugged it. And I love to tell the story, but there's no way to keep that quiet. I mean, but you know, I'm sure I could explain what happened. So I wasn't in trouble that time, I think. The other times, I was shocked so many times. I mean, we were... you just keep it quiet, because otherwise you get in trouble. So, anyway, that's about it. That's really all I had. And thanks for listening.